Chapter 2. The main field of Palmaroux was bustling with activity that morning. The selections had finally begun, and the atmosphere was charged with anticipation and nervousness. The soccer players, in their training gear, were warming up under the watchful eyes of their coaches, but all eyes were on one man, Stéphane Roux. The tension was palpable as the stern and impassive teacher took his place on a chair at the edge of the field. The students respected and feared him equally, his reputation for rigor and impartiality preceding him. His piercing gaze rested for a moment on Léon, then shifted to the other candidates, scrutinizing each of them with calculated intensity. "Mr. Renart," he announced in a firm voice, "you will be judged not only on your individual skills but also on your ability to inspire and lead your teammates." Léon nodded, aware of the weight of expectations. In the stands, Damien displayed a sarcastic smile. "Let's see if Renart can really be a leader," he said mockingly. Léon ignored the taunt, focusing on his warm-up. Francis Pardon, the Minister of Sport, stood nearby, observing the preparations with barely concealed satisfaction. His presence was like a threatening shadow over the selection process, every gesture calculated to impose his elitist ideals. Léon felt a wave of anger rising in him, which he repressed with difficulty. This was a crucial moment, and he had to stay focused. The first trials began. The players rushed onto the field, demonstrating their technical skills and ability to work as a team. Léon quickly stood out, his speed and precision making him a formidable player. Every pass, every dribble was executed with a mastery born of long years of hard training. The game began, and from the first moments, Léon showcased remarkable technique. His precise dribbles and pinpoint passes testified to his hours of rigorous practice. He scored several goals, but his real strength lay in his ability to unite his team. "Léon, here!" shouted a teammate, and Léon, without hesitation, made a perfect pass, orchestrating a winning strategy. He constantly encouraged his teammates, guiding them with natural authority. Damien, his eternal rival, was not to be outdone. Several times, he tried to unsettle Léon with shouts and biting comments. "Renarte, do you really think you have a chance?" murmured Damien, a sneer on his lips after Léon lost the ball. "You're just good enough, but not enough to be among the best." Damien's provocations slid off Léon without affecting him. When he played, his entire mind was on the game. He knew that giving in to anger would only play into his rival's hands. The trials continued, each minute increasing the pressure felt by the candidates. Léon not only demonstrated his technical skills, he also showed exemplary team cohesion, encouraging his teammates, correcting their mistakes, and finding quick solutions to unexpected situations. At a crucial moment, he made a decisive pass to Paul, who scored a spectacular goal, eliciting enthusiastic cheers. Stéphane Roux, despite his stoic face, seemed to take note of every movement, every decision. Léon felt his gaze weighing on him, a silent but precise assessment of his abilities. The stern teacher revealed nothing, but Léon hoped his efforts did not go unnoticed. The trials finally concluded, leaving the candidates breathless and exhausted, but determined. Léon sat on the bench, wiping sweat from his forehead, a feeling of accomplishment mixed with apprehension floating within him. He had given his all, but would it be enough? The teacher's gaze swept over the students, fixing on each face with an intensity that sent shivers down several of them. "You all showed courage and talent today," he began, his deep voice resonating in the silence. "But the selection does not rest solely on your individual skills." He paused, his piercing eyes resting for a moment on Léon. "The final decisions will be made, considering all these aspects. Thank you for your efforts, and I wish you good luck moving forward." Léon felt his heart pounding. Roux's gaze seemed to pierce through him, evaluating much more than his soccer skills. But despite the teacher's apparent coldness, Léon thought he detected a glimmer of satisfaction in his eyes. Damien stepped forward, still looking confident. "So, Professor, what's the verdict on Renart?" Roux looked up at Damien, his expression unchanged. "The results will be communicated in due time, Mr. Malesherbes." Francis Pardon stepped forward, his cold and calculated smile casting a shadow over the students' hopes. "May the best be chosen to represent our nation," he declared, his voice dripping with condescension. Léon stood up, feeling the weight of Pardon's gaze on him, but he did not lower his eyes. He knew he had done his best, and despite the minister's machinations, he could rely on Professor Roux's impartial judgment. Palmaroux was buzzing with activity that morning, the excitement palpable in the air. The students had gathered for the judo and handball selections, their eyes riveted on the mats and fields where the decisive trials would take place. Paul and Élodie, aware of the importance of this day, felt the weight of the pressure, but also the determination to prove their worth. Stéphane Roux, true to his role as an impartial judge, moved between the two gyms, his impassive face masking any emotion. His scrutinizing and inquisitive gaze fixed on the students, evaluating every movement, every decision. His reputation for rigor and integrity was well known to all, and his judgment would be decisive. In the judo dojo, Paul stood at the edge of the tatami. Sensei Nakamura had prepared him for this moment, instilling in him the wisdom and control needed to excel. But today he had to prove that he had absorbed these teachings and could apply them under pressure. The teacher approached Paul, his piercing gaze fixed on him. "Va sûr, show us what you're worth." Paul nodded, feeling a surge of nervousness. "Yes, Mr. Roux." The first match began. Paul, despite initial hesitation, quickly found his inner balance. His movements were fluid and calculated, each hold, each throw executed with methodical precision. He remembered Sensei Nakamura's words. Judo is not just a sport of strength, but of strategy and finesse. Each opponent he faced seemed to be a new lesson, a new challenge to overcome. He adapted his strategy, exploiting his opponent's weaknesses, using their own strength against them. The spectators held their breath, captivated by the demonstration of technical mastery and strategic thinking. Meanwhile, in the handball stadium, Élodie was preparing to lead her team. She was aware of every gaze on her, of every hope and expectation of her teammates. Their success depended on her ability to coordinate their efforts and maintain a clear vision of the game. Professor Roux, moving from the judo gym to the handball court, paused for a moment before her. The whistle blew, and the match began. Élodie transformed into a conductor, guiding her teammates with clear and precise instructions. Every pass, every movement was orchestrated to optimize the team's strengths. She anticipated the opponents, adjusting the strategy in real time, motivating her teammates with words of encouragement and gestures of approval. Élodie, her eyes shining with determination, presented at that moment a demonstration of technicality and precision. Her strategic vision and ability to maintain team cohesion were impressive. Under her direction, the team executed fast and effective plays, overcoming the opposing defenses with remarkable agility. Professor Roux observed silently, his dark eyes following Élodie's every move. Although his expression remained stern and impassive, he noted every detail, every decision with unwavering rigor. Élodie's performance left no doubt about her leadership and competence. In these two places at the same time, teammates and opponents alike were captivated by Paul and Élodie's performances, feeling the intensity and pressure of the selections. Every movement, every decision was a testament to their dedication and hard training. Paul, despite his initial doubts, found inner strength by thinking of his friends and Élodie. Every successful hold, every strategy employed was a silent declaration of his commitment. He remembered the moments of camaraderie, the tough training sessions, and the inspiration he drew from his companions. Élodie, determined to prove her worth, felt the responsibility to lead her team to victory. Every decision made on the field, every encouragement given to her teammates was proof of her leadership and strategic vision. She thought of Paul, Léon, Léa, and the promise they had made to give their best. Stéphane Roux, observing their performances, saw in them athletes worthy of representing Palmaroux. His severity was tempered by silent admiration for their skill and attitude on the field. He knew that the challenges were numerous for such young athletes at the Olympic Games, but he saw in Paul and Élodie the qualities needed to overcome them. The trials came to an end, leaving the students exhausted but resolute. Paul and Élodie, though tired, felt invigorated by their performances. They had shown their worth not only as athletes but as leaders and strategists.